the opportunity that we have here is to go in and learn about the program itself, but definitely this info session is to make sure that we get your questions addressed. So at any point of time, feel free to use the chat box, and our team will make sure to ask those questions or answer those questions. And also we'll have a lot of time at the end to go over some Q&A. But to dive in just at a high level, a little bit more about MassChallenge. So MassChallenge was founded in 2009, and we're a global network of programs. Within our headquarters, we have one of our programs, our vertical programs, be it MassChallenge HealthTech, which is what brings us here today. The goal of MassChallenge HealthTech is we believe that innovators will unlock the future of healthcare. That's you folks and the champion partner enterprises that we work with. Our goal is to make sure that we're facilitating those conversations and making sure that we can match your solutions with some of the top enterprises within our ecosystem. So how do we do that? We're looking for local digital health innovators like yourselves to work with our partner network. And how do we go about that? Well, first off, we want to work with companies that are under 10 million in funding and less than 10 million in revenue in terms of kind of scope, as we want to work with those later stage enterprise ready startups within digital health. You can be located anywhere in the world, especially now that our program is pretty much entirely virtual. And we want to enable you to leverage our network to connect your product or service with our different enterprises. Now, in terms of engagement, the engagement very much becomes focused on how your partners want to work with you throughout the program, but it really only takes about one person to engage with the program on your team. What are the program benefits? Well, first off, and the biggest point of emphasis is our network of partners. Collaborating with them to work on some sort of demonstration project with the goal being some sort of pilot enables you to see actionable results throughout our program. We do that through our goals and milestones process, which is when we will check in with you and our partners on a month-to-month basis, just to make sure that as your experience through the program progresses, you're working with them towards whatever goals you have set forth. We also support this with our evidence-based curriculum, whether that be through security compliance, articulating your ROI, or understanding how to get connected with investors. We want to support you with resources that enable you to work best with these partners and continue to scale. And how we see that scaled growth is through revenue, funding, and employee increases. And then the icing on the cake is the community of network, be it the experts and partners that we also have. So how have these actionable results kind of quantified in years past? Well, to first look at the past year, so we had 30 cohort companies in the past 2021 program. 21 of those converted to pilot opportunities in the 2021 year. And we saw a $45 million funding raise increase throughout our program, as well as a 19 million revenue increase. So that means as companies are going through the program, they're seeing actionable results. Again, our goal is to support you working with these enterprises that enable you to see those revenue increases, that job creation, and that funding increase on the side. At large, our program is going on our 6th year now, and we've accelerated over 100 startups, generated over 300 partner offers, and seen an immense amount of funding and revenue generated throughout our program. You might ask yourself, within the health tech program, what is the umbrella of digital health that we're serving? Really, every year it changes. And that's kind of the beauty of our program, which I'll dive into a little bit later in the presentation. But we just wanted to highlight a few different solutions here. From Hued, who has emphasized working with Black and Latino patients to connect them with healthcare providers, to Care, which is more digital health focused on remote care, all the way to Uplift, focused more on kind of behavioral mental health solutions. We work with digital health startups in all sorts of capacities that address our partner needs. And again, I'll get into that in a little bit because that's really the secret to the sauce here. The process. So in terms of the process, we really kind of break down into 4 main phases here. The first phase is what we call challenge collection, which is when we are spending time onboarding our champion partners for the year to understand their strategic initiatives. From there, our team spends a lot of time sourcing and identifying companies within those challenge areas that we think would be a good fit for the program. That's why we've reached out to you in the past couple of weeks, and that's ultimately why we're so happy to have you here today. If you were to apply to the program, you would submit an application, and in that application, you would identify the top partners of your choosing. Mind you, it's of advice to select the partners that work closely or that align closely with what you're creating and their initiatives. Now, if you are kind of uncertain on that, we're happy to send over some resources and provide you with some insight into how we think you can work best with our program. But just kind of at a high level, we want to make sure that we're doing that and enabling what we call the matchmaking process to occur, which is the last phase before our program, which is when you would go through and pitch to the partners that you've identified and the partners that have identified interest in you. During this pitch, the outcome is offer acceptance letters, which include scope and understanding of how you can work with specific organizations throughout the program. And then throughout the program, we accelerate you and the enterprise by working together through a 5-month curriculum where we're enabling you, again, to work together with those enterprises. To go a little bit more into that judging and matchmaking piece, because I can't emphasize it enough that that's really kind of a crux of how we go about creating this thing, or our program at large. We do a few different rounds where we're working with first experts to go through your application, and then through our partners to ultimately select and identify who we want to invite to matchmaking. And then we will use matchmaking as an evaluation tool to generate those offers. To go a little bit more in the offer process, if you are accepted into the program, unlike traditional accelerators, your acceptance offer would not just say, congratulations, welcome to MassChallenge HealthTech, period. It would say, congratulations, welcome to MassChallenge HealthTech. This is a partner that would want to work with you. This is the goal, this is the guarantee, and this is what the offer type is. So it really enables you to have a scope and understanding of how you're working with the partner throughout the program. If we want to take a quick look at the program itself, January tends to be a time where we're aligning and really breaking down and understanding those goals and offers so you can create an actionable plan towards achieving them throughout the program. February and March then becomes a time where you're driving progress, but also going through that due diligence phase and building a relationship with those organizations that have selected to work with you. And then towards the tail end, April, May, and even June is really focused on driving results. So whatever that goal is, how can we as a team support you to work best with the enterprise that has selected you to make sure that you're getting towards the end goals by June? That said, our ultimate goal is that we are developing lifelong partnerships with you and the enterprises. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that by the time the program completes, you're in a position to continue to work with them post-program as an alumni. And usually, to be quite honest, that's when a lot of the great opportunities continue to come up from more larger paid pilots and things like that. So I've talked a ton about these partners. Who are they exactly? Well, to kind of list a couple here. So this is our network of champion challenge partners, meaning that they've committed to working with HealthTech in some capacity to engage with our different startups like yourselves. So from payers, providers, federal agencies, and even state agencies, we work with all sorts of organizations that want to work with you. If you want to learn more about specifically what our network consists of, but also what these initiatives are, this can all be found on our application landing page. And lastly, our community partners. So this is the network of auxiliary partners that want to be a part of our program that you can continue to support with. So while these partners are not the ones who you would work with closely throughout the program from a project plan standpoint, these are partners that want to work with you, engage with you in different capacities, and there might be other ways that you can work with them. So that challenge area piece is a big part of how we go through the program and really kind of why we wanted to reach out to you folks to attend this event and ultimately to apply. For this upcoming year, the top 5 challenge areas include data integration, interoperability, health equity, mental and behavioral health, remote and virtual services, and community-based tools. Now, these are the top 5 areas, and that's not to mean that there are others, as we have a lengthy list of challenges that we're looking for startups to address. So you can definitely, or please do, and we advise you to look at that link on our application landing page where you can identify and read about the specific challenges from all of our partners looking to work through our program this year. On that link, you'll find language about their reverse pitches, as well as written blurbs about everything that they want to work with and work around. So their strategic initiatives, it's a great resource for you to kind of utilize to shape your application and understand who you could potentially work with. Because ultimately, when you apply, you are selecting the top 3 partners of your choosing. So the more aligned that you are with choosing those, the better chances you have of getting accepted into the program. So what might the timeline be here? Well, applications are closing October 7th, so that's in about a week and 2 days, I believe. And ultimately, I think the biggest point of emphasis that we haven't mentioned yet here is that our program is entirely completed on behalf of economic development, meaning that we are nonprofit. We want to enable you to work with these partners at no cost, no equity loss to be in the program. There is an application fee, mainly to avoid the inundation of applicants and leaving that open to the public. But because we've identified you folks as being great companies, I did want to provide my personal promo code to waive that. So outside of using that promo code, the program itself is entirely free. And it's nothing but win-win scenarios and opportunity for you to work with those organizations. So on that note, that is my presentation here. And I'm just going to kind of end on this slide here. And for the next 11 minutes or so, we'd be happy to, as a team, ask any or answer any questions that anyone might have in the room here today. I see we have one hand up, so feel free to go ahead there.
Hey, Matt, nice to see you again. I remember in the past that MassChallenge had a monetary reward associated with the acceptance of the application. I can't recall if it was a convertible note or a direct investment. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering what the status is of that. I noticed you didn't bring it up. Is this because funding has changed due to COVID? Is that still something that's available as part of the program?
Yeah. Great question. So we've actually implemented a very unique kind of approach because we've very much focused on that enterprise startup engagement and supporting our entrepreneurs in becoming enterprise ready. We now have started to implement enterprise ready stipends. So as you go through the program and reach certain milestones, not necessarily with the partner, but within your enterprise ready roadmap, we want to provide equal funding to those who are working towards becoming enterprise ready to better engage with the partners.
Do you mind shedding a bit more light on that or giving us an example of how that's worked in the past?
Yeah, for sure. So in the past year, when we took our pool of capital that we have, and we pretty much broke it down into the 30 companies. So we had a pool, we divided it by 30, and we created criteria towards engagement. So our understanding is if you were to engage with the partner, go through the check-in process, as well as attend the events that we identify as being of value, then you would unlock some of that stipend.
I see. And I think that's it on my end. Cool. Thank you so much. Oh, is there like a higher acceptance rate if you were a MassChallenge alumni somewhere else? Like, for example, my company went through MassChallenge Austin, yep, and now looking to restructure into HealthTech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. So definitely going through programs like early stage MassChallenge or just others in general definitely give you a leg up. I think across the board for everyone in the audience here, the biggest value is to articulate in the application your, what I would call your believable path to impact and your existing path to impact, meaning your mission and your traction. Because again, while I would love to be able to, or our team would love to be able to accept you, it's really through that partner lens. So articulating what your mission is, how you've seen traction to work with enterprises, and how you've ultimately been able to work with them, or how you ultimately want to work with them through the program, that'll give you a leg up to kind of shine a positive light on your application throughout the judging process.
Thank you so much. And the last, I don't mean to hog, I hope these questions are valuable to everybody else. The last question is, my competitor went through MassChallenge HealthTech.
Mm-hmm.
How do we confirm that there wouldn't be a conflict? Is there some legal binding contract between us and our mentor if we are assigned the same mentor, because it's such a niche market?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. So that's really case by case. And ultimately, if the partner is wanting to engage with you, I see that as being an opportunity, if anything, that they're seeing that there's something else within your solution versus potential competitors. So what I would recommend doing is that is something to bring up at that initial kind of acceptance phase to really understand that offer. And even in the matchmaking phase to say, hey, like, how are we going to be able to work with you? But also, how can we really stand out? So doing that through the matchmaking, but also through that acceptance process, that'll all be worked out.
Will this recording be shared with all of us?
This one in particular? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yep. I see another hand raised there. You want to go and ask your question?
That's me, is it?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I guess a couple of questions. One is, you talk about enterprise ready.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you wanted to elaborate a little bit on what enterprise ready might be. And the second thing is, we have a behavioral health startup that is trying to bring in people from universities to work with us on some of the research aspects.
Mm-hmm.
So could we potentially have a university research collaboration going on while we are also looking for enterprise partners?
Yes, 100%. So to clarify and talk a little bit about enterprise readiness, this is a framework that we've implemented to assist us understanding where you are in terms of engaging with partners effectively, but also B, how we can create an effective program to support you. So some of the kind of key indicators that we have, more loose than anything, is where you are in terms of fundraising, revenue. Are you past an initial prototype, as that's kind of a bare kind of criteria to just be in the program. And then the post that is, how have you utilized MassChallenge to, whether that be articulate your ROI to partners through maybe some sort of calculator, or support you with raising some sort of seed or Series A round. The last piece of it is also around compliance. So how can we support you get through security assessments? And that's a big kind of, I'll call it, barrier towards working with these enterprises on that shortened timeline. So really, enterprise ready is just a framework that we just want to really provide poignant resources to enable you to best work with the partners.
And are they spelled out in a document, a table, a checklist of some sort that we could reference?
Yeah, so upon acceptance, we go through that in our kind of onboarding. We do that through a couple surveys, as well as through all different curriculum events at the start of the program.
Got it. And then quick clarification. So you talk about pilot, you talk about pilot as part of the program. And then at this stage, you're expecting startups to have at least passed the prototyping. So a consumer-facing pilot is a prerequisite, or would that be something that we could potentially leverage within the program, which is one of the benefits that I would look for?
Yeah, very much case by case. So it all depends. I would see that kind of coming to light and having a discussion around that again at matchmaking. So the more that you can articulate those interests, and I definitely would advise you articulating those specific goals within the application, then the better the partner can understand how to best support you and how they could potentially engage with you during the program.
Perfect. Great. Thank you very much, Matt.
Yep. Thank you. Now we have about 4 minutes left here. So are there any other questions anyone else has?
I have a quick question.
Yep.
When you talk about funding within the application, are you focused on third-party funding or total capital, to the extent that, you know, the principals have invested substantial capital? Do you want that identified, or is that separate?
More so the latter, just total fundraising.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Regarding the stipends and the milestones that one needs to hit, was the answer to that just it depends on what the startup identifies as their, I guess, milestones when they apply in terms of that question around being enterprise ready?
Yeah. So to summarize, it's more of making sure that you're attending the different events and check-ins that enable you to work best with the partners. So whether that be through our monthly check-ins or engaging with the partners just at a very fundamental level, sometimes even that is something that sometimes kind of gets lost in translation throughout the program. Just making sure you're committing the time to working with the partners, A, engaging with our program, B, through curriculum, and then ultimately leveraging any resources. So just by really participating, it enables you to receive those different stipends.
And just to be explicit, what was the investment size before this sort of change to breaking it out or distributing it in stages? And now with the stages, is it still the same total amount that's just distributed?
Yeah, great question. Very much case by case per program. So every year that changes, but for the most part, it is the same amount. It's more just working through how we can best support the entire cohort at large. Mind you, this was kind of something that came to light through COVID, where we realized that rather than kind of empowering a few, only one or two teams with cash prizes at the end, it's best to support younger companies as they work with their enterprises based off of their needs. So we want to deploy pretty much the same capital, but to more companies.
Oh, so there was never the lump sum at the beginning to accepted companies. So it's always at the end to the winner?
Correct.
Oh, okay. And so how much is it for the HealthTech?
Yeah, again, it depends. In years past, we've had pools of around $250,000, but every year it kind of depends. And every year it depends on how we want to best support our cohort.
Okay, so that pool is still distributed to how many are selected typically in each cohort?
Case by case, again, it depends on how many offers are generated. We shoot for about 30 companies. But it all depends on just the scope of the program, from both the number of partners that are participating, the number of offers that are generated, and obviously the number of startups that are selected.
Okay, so the point is the 250, for example, would be generated across approximately like 30 companies.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Now I know we're coming to time here. Is there any kind of last minute questions anyone has?
We have another question in the chat.
Let's see. Is that Eric's question?
Mm-hmm.
Eric, 100%. 100%. That is fully acceptance there, and Liz beat me to it. No minimum funding and revenue requirements. Really, it's, does your solution address one of the challenge areas set by the partners? And if so, they'll take note to that through the judging process and want to work with you. So totally open there. Now I know we're kind of at time here. I think first off, at the end of the day, where our team is open door here. So if you have any other questions that might kind of come up throughout the time of thinking through the opportunity, please do reach out. But on behalf of the entire team, thank you again just for taking the time to learn more about the program. And we definitely welcome your applications and would love to have you be a part of the program in the future cohorts. So thank you again and have a great rest of the week.